destroying people with recently. So we'll see if he can overcome this. As we zoom into the match, we will look at Laguna Band Trailblazer here. Ben now with Ordeal of Thassa. Counters are going on to the Trailblazer, and we are underway here in round number 5.
And now this is where we do the removal check here. 2 copies of Valorous Stance in Todd's list. See if he has one on time. Does not appear so.
Just a boring old 1/1 hanger back walker, but I have a feeling it's going to get a little bit better than that. Ben's draw was a Dromoka command for the turn. He's going to attack, put a counter on the Trailblazer, crack the Ordeal. 2 cards coming here for Friedman.
Still a very powerful opening here for Ben. Unfortunately now for him, Todd transitions to his 3-mana removal spells like Abza and Charm. No copies of Hero's Downfall in his list. You know, with Hangerback Walker in the list, the mana has tilted a lot more towards green and white and a lot less black.
Another Hangerback Walker here for Ben Friedman. Anderson will draw a card. Hangerback Walker has a real stranglehold on this standard format. It is making its way into just about every deck. Windswept Heath will be sacrificed here by Anderson. We'll see what land he wants to dig up. He'll go with a forest, and you know, it may not look impressive right now, but you have to imagine it's only going to get bigger and better over the course of this game.
As long as Todd can offer some resistance over the course of this game, have some removal spells, gum down the board a little bit with blockers, he'll have opportunities to make Hangerback Walker into a game-winning threat on its own, though the same thing is true on Ben's side of the table now with his own copy.
That is Mana Gorger Hydra. One thing that I know about that card, it's real good and limited.
Yep.
Now, how good is it constructed? I guess we'll find out.
Really good also with Gather Courage.
Very true.
That's a combo.
That is a combo deck. Todd's going to draw a card. Mana Gorger Hydra is here to stay. It did not die. So let's see it grow. Step 1. Oh boy. That's another Mana Gorger Hydra.
Double combo deck.
Hangerback Walker is going to grow for Ben. He'll draw a card. Ben did pick up a copy, it appears, of Valor Stance. 2 of those in his main deck this weekend.
What I really like about what's going on with Todd's list here is he can still be an Abzan aggro deck when that's appropriate. And if the game slows down between Mana Gorger, Hydra, and Hangerback Walker, he can play a slow game too. He doesn't have to win on the 5th or 6th turn in the game. Those threats get more and more powerful as the game progresses.
Now, what's notable about the Hydra too, that I didn't realize until the first time I tried to chump block it, it's got trample.
Oh, I thought it only triggered off of opponent spells the first time that I played against it.
Oh, so we were both learning things.
But that was a nice surprise to find out as opposed to what you're describing, which is a bad thing to find out.
I lost trying to block with a 1/1. So that's fun. Here's a Temple of Plenty. Top card going to the bottom from the scry.
Some lessons need to be learned but once.
That's correct. I'll never forget. A third.
It's a rarely seen triple combo deck.
Yeah.
Don't see a lot of that in standard.
You don't. No, you don't. So if Ben wants to cast a spell, that's a horrible idea. The Hydra is going to grow.
And Ben is splashing for Dromoka's command. Can't cast it right now, but look at the threats Todd has in play. These are not the best type of creatures to be brawling with Dromoka's command.
Yeah. You see, Ben saying, you mentioned Dromoka's command. You look like he has multiple copies in the grip right now. He also has a Flooded Strand, a Valorous Stance.
The mana in Bant Heroic is not great. You do have Windswept Heath and Mana Confluence, but you don't have a lot in terms of pain lands that you can play. The deck is so white mana sensitive, the Yavimaya Coast really isn't an option. And so this comes up a lot, where the deck is just missing a color of mana. Dromoka's command is very, very powerful, worth splashing for in the deck, but it's not without costs.
Now, what's notable here, as both creatures are going to come into the red zone, taking a look at Ben's deck list, you know, he doesn't really have a great way to break through, which is going to be an issue for him. You know, I'm looking for the deck list here. You know, you're always going to find God's Willing. That's obvious, but that's part of the reason that Hangerback Walker is seeing so much play is because it really bricks God's Willing in a big way. So now it's like, okay, well, what can he do to break through? Does he have Stratus Walk? Does he have Aqua's Form? The answer to those questions, no.
Yep, and so the board that Todd is building up here is going to be very challenging for Ben to beat this game.
Thopter tokens are here now. The follow-up is Hangerback Walker. Triggers. Mana Gorger Hydras are getting bigger. That means they're getting better at blocking, and that also means they're getting better at attacking. Be curious to see if Anderson's ever able to turn the corner here. It looks like he is drawing quite a few lands at this point. Well, ignore what I just said.
This is still a pretty safe attack.
Yeah. Gonna come with a token too. He is really looking to turn the corner now. There's a Valorous Stance. Full fine, I'll just grow my other ones. There goes the Hydra. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage are going to come across.
Though if Ben finds green mana, Todd is liable to get killed on the way back by Dromoka's command.
Yep.
He's left himself with not a lot in the way of blocking.
There's a copy of Hero of Heroes. What's really tough here for Ben is if he doesn't find green mana, he doesn't want to cast any other spells.
Exactly. Usually in these spots, it's trivial to add your other creatures into play. Maybe they don't matter for very much, but you can at least cast them. He's not in that kind of spot. Every spell he casts represents a large cost.
Anderson going to untap. Take a draw.
Although now it's difficult for Todd to attack in the face of Ben's Hangerback Walker because he does not want to unleash a sea of flying 1/1s on Ben's side when Todd's so low.
Both players in a weird game right now.
Both of these creatures, Hangerback Walker and Mana Gorger Hydra, they're going to make the games pretty choppy and ugly. It does slow the game down quite a bit. It makes it so both players don't really want to cast spells very much. It makes attacking hard. And the games really grind down when these cards are involved.
Anderson going to play a Caves of Koilos. He's going to keep right on attacking. Looks like he might be attacking with everybody. His thought process here might be, well, I'm not gonna be able to win by sitting back.
Well, attacking for less than lethal is a pretty dangerous proposition here for Todd, because Ben gets some very good blocks with Hangerback Walker.
Well, it's time to see. I believe Todd has a copy of Dromoka's command in hand. So we'll see what kind of blocks Ben is willing to make here.
Now, the upshot of Dromoka's command here is if Ben gets sloppy with his blocks because of the way the trample works, Todd can get rid of a blocker and assign all the trample damage to Ben.
Very true. Well, there are the blocks. A unique Abzan deck here from Todd Anderson.
And if Ben is mindful here of Dromoka's command, if Todd passes, Ben may also just pass. Because if Ben goes to activate, his one blocker can get cleared out, and then he might die.
Well, he's going to activate this first one. That's on the stack. Anderson's going to make his move with his Dromoka's command. Don't forget, that's going to trigger both these Hydras as well. Now he's got to figure out what modes he wants to use on the command.
And Todd doesn't really mind getting involved in some sort of spell exchange here because, again, all of this grows the Hydra.
So counter's going to be placed on one Hydra. There will be a fight. Thopter token is given before the activation on Hangerback Walker resolves. Now this Hangerback Walker is going to grow. This one's going to spit out some Thopters. Some trample damage will be assigned here. And yeah, this Friedman's going to end the turn at 6. Now, what's interesting about this board is Ben willing to attack with everything? Because what Todd's trying to do here, I guess he doesn't die from an attack to everything. This is actually a pretty well set up game here by Todd.
Yeah, this is really nicely done. I mean, Todd sets himself with exactly enough blockers to survive this attack. If Ben can't push through lethal this turn, it's really hard for him to add to the board. Again, these Hydras grow on every single spell. So Todd has sculpted this game very nicely. Now, he would still die to Dromoka's command. He can't really afford to play around it, and maybe he even thinks Ben might just be on a blue-white version of this deck because he hasn't seen green mana yet.
Very true. Very true.
But Todd taking a gamble here, but he knows that, time is not really on his side. He's better off closing this game sooner rather than later. Don't know what's going on in Ben's hand, but he's got 6, 7 cards, 5 cards the whole time, and Todd's very, very light on resources.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Todd and given his familiarity with Heroic and things of that nature, you have to imagine that he's thinking, well, okay, he's got Hangerback Walker in his deck, and normally the Bant version of Heroic plays it. He might be just thinking, okay, he's stuck with brain cards that he can't cast. Or, he hasn't had the ability to cast God's Willing yet, things of that nature. Ben might be coming in now. We don't oftentimes see these kind of combat wars in Standard.
Yeah. I mean, Ben's got to get a move on, too. I mean, he's at 6, facing down 2 trampling threats he can't contain anymore. The Trailblazer is able to check one of them, but there's a lot of spells he dies from on Todd's side right now. So both these players trying to win before the other player casts one more relevant spell, because it feels like the first player who casts something that really matters is going to win the game.
And oftentimes when you see this kind of counting take place in combat, we're talking about a game of limited.
Yeah.
Not constructed, certainly not standard. The attacks are typically, straightforward. So Friedman's going to attack with 4 Thopter tokens. Anderson's got 2 here, and it's not a lethal attack. Now, one thing that Todd has to be a little bit concerned about is a card like Defiant Strike, I suppose, but he said no blocks. Now here's Hero of Herois. Trigger, going to grow him up a little bit. Pass the turn back. Trailblazer back on defense with all that toughness. Anderson down to 1. He'll draw a card, picked up another land. That's not going to help here. Does he have a way to attack for lethal is the question.
He's got to win this turn.
Yeah, he's going to attack with everybody. Pretty straightforward, the Trailblazer blocking the big one. So 5 minus 2 is 3, so 4 damage is going to come through here. What's funny is if Todd has a spell, Ben's dead.
That's been the case here on both sides of the table here for a couple turns.
Yeah. Because Ben's going to end the turn at 2, and if Todd had a spell, it's 2 more trample damage, doesn't have it. And so Todd Anderson is going to concede the game. Ben Friedman is going to win game number 1 here over Todd Anderson. Bant Heroic, even though it did not show its green side, does win game number 1 here over the Abzana Hydra Brew that Todd Anderson's playing.
Very well navigated game from both sides of the table. And what really stood out to me is Ben and Todd both took a bunch of risks there. They know that they couldn't beat everything. They knew that they both had to win the game quickly, because if Ben finds green mana, if Todd finds a removal spell, that decides it. And so they both did a good job of managing the damage race and really turning up the pressure when the games seemed to be coming down to who was going to play the first meaningful spell first.
We're going to the sideboards. We're going to start with Todd Anderson, as he will be on the play here for game number 2, and you've got that in front of you.
3 copies of Ultimate Price, a God's Willing, 2 copies of Glare of Heresy, 2 Elspeth Sun's Champion, and a Ajani Mentor of Heroes, 3 Irrational Clerics, a Temple of Silence, and 2 copies of Tragic Arrogance. I don't mind Todd going into a little bit of a bigger package here, backed up by some of the removal. 3 copies of Ultimate Price, 2 copies of Glare of Heresy, and I can see the 2 copies of Elspeth coming in as a way to win the late game.
We're taking a look here at Ben Friedman and his 3 Ordeal of Heliod's, 3 Disdainful Strokes, 2 Stubborn Denials, 2 Valorous Stance, a Treasure Cruise, 3 Aqueous Form, and a Laguna Band Trailblazer. This is kind of weird to say, but I think Trailblazer having all that toughness actually kind of matters here.
It matters in the matchup. I like bringing in the copy of Treasure Cruise. The game's going to go on for a long time. Todd's going to have a lot of removal, helps you win a later game. And I think that Ben wants to consider the copies of Aqueous Form alongside the Valorous Stances to try to answer some of Todd's threats and be able to punch through the defenses.
I think you got to have a way to kill that big dragon. Or the big, I keep wanting to call it Managorger Dragon and Managorger Hydra.
Yep.
You got to have a way to kill that thing.
Absolutely.
Well, these players are going to shuffle up here for game number 2. Friedman up a game. Anderson will be on the play. In the meantime, we'll talk about the Star City Games Creature Collection Summer Style. We got playmats, we got sleeves, we got bundles.
Yeah, all available. Head over to StarCityGames.com/Creature Collection to order your playmat, sleeves, and bundles. You see the Summer Creature Collection series here with the monkey, the pig, and the squid. The kraken, not a squid.
That's okay.
With Deathrite Salmon as the creature parody playmat. Again, StarCityGames.com/Creature Collection. Order your items today, or head over to our dealer booth at any of our opens or any Grand Prix that we're at.
So we can just delete that part where you said squid.
Yeah.
We can just cut the tape, delete it. It's not going to happen.
It's whatever you want to be. It's your playmat, and the creatures are close enough, right?
If you want to be a squid, it's a squid.
Yeah. It's not a biology show. It's a magic tournament. Just whatever you want to call it. Just doesn't matter. StarCityGames.com/Creature Collection.
We'll see you there. Hey, come on. You're in Jersey. Hang in there. Hang in there.
I'm doing fine. Calmer than you are.
I'm great. I'm great. So, one thing about Todd's deck, and we did a deck tech with him, so we'll have that for you guys later in the day. He's got these Managorger Hydras. He's got these Hangerback Walkers. He has no Siege Rhino.
Yeah, there are some mana sinks in the deck. Copies of Ward in the First Tree, a Tassiker, but it is a much lower end build of the deck.
Yeah, this is very different.
And reflexively, Ben might bring in his copies of, Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah.
Because it's just a card, you expect Siege Rhino, you expect Todd to sideboard into a bigger deck. It's not really that good here, and a lot of that is a function of Todd not having Siege Rhinos in the 75.
Maybe he expects a card like Wingmate Rock. That's not here.
Wingmate Rock has gotten a lot worse just because of Languish.
Yeah.
And I think when you want a 5-drop in your deck to be good against Obzon control, helps you play to the board, helps you win a late game, sort of like Waymate Rock does. I think as Johnny, Mentor of Heroes, is kind of taking over that role. You want to diversify your assets a little bit in the face of Vanquish. Have some Planeswalkers.
And both these players shuffling up, getting ready here for game number 2. If you are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan. We are also joined with Matthias Hunt, Nick Miller, Ken Crock on the sideboard, rest of the SCG Live crew. We are here in New Jersey for our Season 3 Invitational. We're going to punch 2 more tickets to our Players' Championship. 5 players already headed to the Star City Game Center at the end of the year. Jim Davis, Jacob Wilson. Don't want to call him Justin. Jacob Wilson. We got Kevin Jones, Brad Nelson. Going to be a fun tournament.
Absolutely. We are getting closer and closer. The field's going to start taking some real shape after this weekend. 2 more invites are going to be punched, and then we're basically looking at the at-large bids coming at the end of the year, which we'll have a good sense of, along with the Season 4 Invitational in Las Vegas.
And Ali Antrazi, I didn't forget about you too, Season 2 Invitational Champion. I'm just sad you're not here.
Yeah.
Couldn't make the trip this weekend. Sansep Citadel is how Todd Anderson's going to start things off. It's a Plains. It's a favorite hoplite for Ben Friedman.
That's how this coverage works, You don't show up for a week, you are iced.
Yeah, you're gone. You don't even exist.
Don't talk to me.
Fleecemane Lion here for Todd as he goes down to 19. Ben does have green mana this game. He's got a copy of Windswept Heath in hand.
What I can really appreciate about this build of Obzon Hydra that Todd's playing, the mana base is so clean. You're not trying to make Rakshasa Death Dealer, Bio Blights, none of that kind of stuff is happening. In fact, no copy of Urborg in the list. And sometimes we've seen Obzon aggro lists that are up to 2 copies because the color mana is so sensitive. Here, Todd doesn't really need it. It's just a light splash of black.
Here's Defiant Strike. Anderson, no interest in blocking. He loses Fleecemane Lion to Defiant Strike if Friedman did have it, which he did. Anderson will draw. He's coming in for 3. Mana Confluence going to come down. There is the Hydra again. We saw how potent that could be last game. Friedman will draw. Picked up a copy of Hero of a Rose. He'll play a copy of Mana Confluence now. Colors, not an issue for Ben this game like it was the last one.
So being on the draw here, Todd's not trying to necessarily hold this game down with removal for forever. He's presenting a clock. And if you look at Ben's hand right now, there's a lot of 2-mana spells. His development's a little bit on the slow side here.
Windswept Heath is going to search up a forest. Might be time for Jamoka's Command. It is. Favorite hoplite's going to get a little bit bigger. Mana Gorger, Hydra's going to bite the dust. Friedman coming over for a pretty healthy amount. A lot of the time when you talk to players about heroic, be it Bant or white blue, they say that favorite hoplite's the best of the bunch.
Yep. It's very cheap, very hard to kill. Very synergistic with Dramoka's Command.
There's a Hydra then there again for Anderson. Temple of Plenty the draw here for Friedman. Can he continue to press his advantage? Remember, that Hydra, it grows real fast.
And Ben's hand still, I think that he has a Temple of Plenty here, so at least he has another land, but he's still struggling to piece together 2 spells in a turn.
Favorite hoplite is going to be Enchanted by Ordeal of Thassa. 2 cards coming here for Friedman. Looks like Anderson's going to take that damage. No interest in chump blocking just yet. A little risky when you're playing against a deck that can have Stratus Walk, God's willing.
Todd, it seems hard with Ben at 12 for Todd to be able to win this game by chump blocking and attacking with Fleecemane Lion 4 times. Ben's got a full hand.
Looks like Defiant Strike is going to be cast while we're still in combat. So that favorite hoplite's getting even bigger. And because Todd has these pain lands on the battlefield, Mana Confluence and Caves of Koilos, might not be able to cast very many spells this game. He's at 2. There's a Llanowar Waste. Down to 1. Valorous Stance. You have a God's Willing? You do. Does Todd have another removal spell? He does.
There it is.
And the Hydra is a Jeez.
Yep.
I think it has 5 counters on it now. Yeah, attack you. That's an attack for 9.
And now 2 lethal threats in play.
Yep. And one of them tramples. So if your plan was to jump block with Hangerback Walker, that's no good.
Without Valorous Stance, I don't think Ben can get out of this.
I'll tell you what. Managorger Hydra looking good.
Yeah. I think that Ben basically needs to Treasure Cruise into Valorous Stance plus a removal spell or chump blocker for Fleecemane Lion.
Well, he's going to draw 3 cards right now. No Valorous Stance there. Friedman going to take a long look at the grip, but
take it all in.
Yeah, and take it all home. Todd Anderson's going to win game number 2 here against Ben Friedman. Abzan Hydra and Bant Heroic getting ready for game number 3. Think about that game for a second. Todd goes turn 2 Fleecemane Lion, turn 3 Hydra. Hydra gets killed by Jamoka's command. Play a Hydra the next turn, miss my land drop. Ben has a really big turn with Ordeal of Thoughts and Defiance, trying to put Todd down to 2, and he dies 2 turns later.
And a lot of that was a function of Ben not being able to get a second threat into play because his hand was a little mismatched in terms of mana.
Yep.
He had to spend a couple turns there, turn 3 and turn 4, really only augmenting 1 creature. He never got to play an enchantment and play a creature in the same turn. He needed to set up that sort of turn and was unable to do so.
I mean, we've seen 2 games with the Hydra, and I'm impressed.
Yep. No, that was... I mean, that grew very, very large, very, very fast.
And we'll talk about in a moment cards that have been similar to that, though they haven't seen very much play. Very quickly, however, we will talk about the Ali Antrazi token. Receive a limited edition one. A couple of ways to go about doing it for our Season 2 Invitational Champion.
Yeah, congratulations to Ali Antrazi again. Won in Columbus earlier this year with Tron and Modern. Available a couple of different ways. It's available to all Open Series players if you sign up for the 2-day $20,000 Open Series event. Any 5K Premier IQs, the ones that we hold Sundays that are Open Series and Invitationals, plus the ones that you can bring to your local store. And any order from StarCityGames.com and access to $5 will come with this token, but limited time offer. And remember, we got an Invitational this weekend. That's what you're watching. So there's going to be a new token soon. If you want to get your hands on the Ali Antrazi token, either sign up for one of our large events or place an order from StarCityGames.com today.
All right, here's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you win this Invitational, you don't pick a Thopter, you're a doofus.
I know. You get a year and a half of solid burn.
Oh,
And you get to be up there for a while.
You're going to be seeing a lot of play.
To say nothing of Modern.
Yeah. Hangerback Walker is going to be hanging around for a while.
Plus, could be more Thopter designs coming down the pipeline.
Boom.
You never know. Just like Goblin Rabblemaster brought back the Cedric Phillips Goblin token a big way, you never know when there's going to be something that gets printed.
I didn't know that was going to happen. That didn't even influence my decision to be a Goblin.
Chris Van Meter picked an Elemental token years ago. Young Pyromancer gets printed. Suddenly, he's back on the scene.
It's true. It's very, very true.
Competing with Dylan Donegan for space on the air.
Both these players are going to take a look at their opening hands. I mentioned that, we've seen a card like Managorger Hydra, that ability when people play spells, it gets bigger. A card like Torn Mauler, which didn't see very much play. Forgotten Ancient, I believe is like the original of that.
Mm-hmm.
And people have tried with those cards. I think this is the most aggressively costed type of that card.
Triggering on both sides and having trample is, that's a lot of power added to that kind of effect that some of those other designs do not have.
Tempo of Silence here for Anderson. You saw Friedman start with the Temple of Plenty. Anderson going to scry the top card and leave it on top. Now, we can't forget about Ben Friedman and his success in the Open Series. A lot of top 8s to his name. And we talked about the Season 2 Invitational last year where Tom Ross went back-to-back. Well, he had to beat someone in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Ben in the finals of the Season 2 Invitational. A lot of people forget about that.
And now co-captain of the reformed team Target, the only game in town, my old stomping ground.
They both got 2 drops. What's interesting is I think Ben's is better, even though it's a 1-1.
If the game goes on for a long time, it's definitely better.
Yeah.
The game's played short. I'll take the 3-3.
Ben's got a Hangerback Walker. Anderson's got a Fleecemane Lion. What's kind of funny about that is Fleecemane Lion's good when the game goes long, too.
Not as good as Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, not even close to as good.
Because eventually Hangerback Walker becomes Moat. And Moat is better than Fleecemane Lion.
That's true. Windswept Heath does get sacrificed. Now, you take a look at Ben's mana base. 2 plains, Temple of Plenty. No blue mana right now. And he did use a Flooded Strand.
Yep. Looks like he has the island in hand.
Okay. Here of Aros, pass the turn back. Fleece main line is feeling it.
Not trying to block all day against Hangerback Walker.
Play one way. See if Friedman wants to maybe block here or not. Does have a copy of Den Protector in hand. Something that's notable about Ben's deck list this weekend, 4 copies of Den Protector in the main deck of Bancher-Rook. We don't see that very often. Here is a double block. Todd's going to rearrange the blockers. Activate the Hangerback Walker. Obzon Charm. Jeez. Goodbye, friends.
Good
Pass
window.
that turn back.
Good window for Valorous stance here on the other side.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, Hangerback Walker was going to grow to be a 2/2 there.
Yep.
So that's why he wasn't able to use the exile mode. Can only exile something 3 or greater. But Friedman was gifted 2 Thopter tokens, which are coming into the red zone right now, so Anderson's going to take 2. Doesn't appear as though Friedman does have a copy of Valorous Stance, however. He's without that. He'll just play a Den Protector morphed for now.
And that's a really slow way to try to do it here.
Anderson going to come in with a large Fleece main line. Mana Confluence. Here's Anafenza. Pass the turn back. Some big bodies out there right now for Anderson. Friedman, a little bit smaller. He's got a little bit more on the table. He's got some real catching up to do as he's going to untap.
And Anafenza does a lot of work against Hangerback Walker.
Valorous Stance, a big top deck. One could argue the best top deck.
Yeah, especially with that Den Protector. Before it was looking like, well, he's going to get back a Hangerback Walker that's not very good anymore, or he's getting back a 2/2 for 2 without any enchantments in his hand. Not that these seem great, but Valorous Stance is a very powerful path here now for Ben. Being able to kill something, get it back with Den Protector, kill something else.
See how fast Ben wants to go here. He could aggressively Valorous Stance, say kill your Anafenza, keep getting into the red zone here, or he could slow up a bit. Looks like he's going to slow down. Just attack with 1 Thopter. Maybe prepared to chump block with 1. Here is Valorous Stance, going to go after Fleece main line. See if Ben just wants to leave the mana available to unmegamorph Den Protector. It looks like the answer to that question is yes. Anderson going to come in with Anafenza and just simply pass the turn back. Den Protector will unmegamorph. It'll get a counter. Valorous Stance added to the grip. Anderson might use a removal spell here. And he will. Ultimate Price will take care of Den Protector. Back to Friedman we go. He'll take a draw. Ordeal of Thassa is what he's found. Not great on this board.
I mean, at 13, he does have the option here of playing Ordeal Thassa on the Thopter, using Valorous Stance as insurance to protect against a removal spell. And if Todd has some sort of removal spell that works around a Valorous Stance, then he can simply use the Valorous Stance on the Anafenza.
Defiant Strike. Drew Friedman a card. It drew him another copy of Valorous Stance. So the first one will take care of Anafenza. 2 damage comes across from the Thopter. And now 2 more damage is going to be dealt to Anderson. A life payment for Obzon Charm. Looks like Todd, however, has found quite a few lands here in that exchange. I don't know about you. I was not expecting this kind of uptick in Valorous Stance. Maybe this is just a one-match thing.
If you're expecting a lot of Obzon aggro, fizzles a lot of removal spells, answers a lot of their key threats. Anafenza is a card you would expect to see an uptick in people's main decks because of Hangerback Walker.
Yep. There's another Valorous Stance. Again, Friedman's got 4 throughout of 75. 2 in the main, 2 in the board.
And that combined with Den Protector means he can do a lot of action against Todd's large threats.
A Plains here from Anderson. Here's 6 mana. Let's see what this is. Okay, big Hangerback Walker. Flooded Strand in the draw. Interesting set of games.
Yep. Well, Hangerback Walker on both sides of the table has made the game sometimes about racing, sometimes about playing slow and defensively. Sometimes flying has been really valuable in the games. But yeah, these have been an odd, sort of choppy set of games here. Not what you would expect from these decks necessarily.
Floated Strangling and sacrifice here by Ben.
Hangerback Walker seems to make the who's the beatdown, who's the control player in any given game or any given turn a pretty fluid thing. It feels like that shifts a lot.
Yeah, I was shifts is the best word used there. It seems like it goes back and forth now.
Yep.
There's Ordeal. That'll trigger. Here come the beatdowns. Curious if Anderson wants to block right now.
And this is Ben's workaround for Hangerback Walker here, is he can make one threat large enough that Hangerback Walker chumps instead of trades. And then what are you doing with those flyers? Ben's at 12. You're not really in a position to attack just yet. And your 1/1 flyers will not stop this hero by Roas in the long term.
Oh, there's a land. Anderson reorganizing. Whenever you're playing a Heroic and you don't see him cast a God's Willing, you just kind of assume they have one.
Yep. But also, you know, it's not hard for Ben to leave up mana for the entire game from this spot.
There's Valorous Stance on the hero. That is going to cause a bit of a Dromoka's command reaction, it appears. Okay. Ben needs to decide what modes he wants to select. Abzan Charm going to go after that. Okay. Yeah, Ben tried to sacrifice an enchantment.
That's how the ordeals are worded.
Yeah.
When this is sacrificed, so you can sacrifice your own ordeal to just get the trigger.
It's very strange.
Yep.
Attack for 1 in the air, Hangerback Walker. Excuse me, attack for 2 in the air. That's notable. The Hangerback Walker for Anderson's going to grow. Todd will draw. Didn't get a great look. It's a Temple. Take a look at the top card. Stays on top. Can't attach.
Shields are down. Todd's empty-handed, so
yep.
If Ben's got any sort of pump spell for this Thopter, that's game and match.
Ben will draw. You wonder what that top card is for Anderson. One thing we know it is not a Siege Rhino.
I think the last card in Ben's hand going into this turn was Den Protector, so even an untapped land would have allowed him to Den Protector back a Defiant Strike for the kill.
I believe Ben may have drawn a copy of Treasure Cruise, however. Yep. You see him delving. He might find that way to win the game right now. And a lot of different ways he can do it. An ordeal.
Yeah.
Dromoka's command, Defiant Strike. Time to draw 3. Temple of Plenty, Hangerback Walker, Temple of Enlightenment. It's an attack for 2 in the air. Anderson's down to 1.
And this Den Protector is a pretty powerful squeeze here for Ben, because Todd needs his own Hangerback Walker to die to be able to answer the Thopter. But if he does that, then Den Protector cannot be blocked by the 1/1s. Very difficult situation for Todd rather to answer.
Ben gonna go with a Hangerback Walker. Anderson going to grow his Hangerback Walker. What's on top? He won't show us. Well, it better be something good. He's just going to pass the turn back. All right. We'll find out soon enough. Dromoka's command the draw. There's a Temple. Top card, Valorous Stance. And Ben would rather have that than a random one.
So right now, Ben's got to think about, if I attack with everything, what's the implication of Todd having a removal spell for his own Hangerback Walker? And it's not really that bad of a situation.
Yeah, that top card was not very helpful. Ben Friedman's going to win this game and match here over Todd Anderson. 2-1. Bant Heroic will take care of Abzan Hydra, though I have a feeling that's not the last we're going to see of this Abzan Hydra deck. There were moments there that I was very impressed.
Yeah, that right there was a Bant Heroic style game of got on front early with a very high quality threat. What's pretty sweet about the Bant Heroic deck that Ben's playing is with the mixture of Hangerback Walker and Den Protector, you are not dead if you get brick walled early on in the game.
Yep.
We see heroic decks a lot where